Welcome to the Air Law and Regulations EASA PPL course, completely updated for the year 2026. Do you want to pass your flying test and get your pilot license on the very first try? These questions come with full explanations, which will help you get your certification on the first try. Please leave your suggestions in the comment section below, so me and my team can improve this course. I want to help you learn quickly, so you should take notes on the main rules we discuss. Read the text multiple times, understand the concepts deeply, and then practice the questions at the end. Let us start with the basic rules of the sky, so you can become a very safe pilot. We are going to look at the main rules of flying, known as the Air Law today. A long time ago, countries signed the Chicago Convention to agree on the basic rules of flying. This big agreement helped create a global group, which we call the International Civil Aviation Organization today. We often call this group ICAO, and they make sure flying is safe all over the world. ICAO does not make strict laws, but they provide standards and good practices for countries to follow. Every country takes these standards, and then turns them into their own local laws for their pilots. In Europe, we have a main group called EASA, which stands for European Union Aviation Safety Agency. EASA takes the rules from ICAO, and makes sure all European countries use them the exact same way. When you fly a plane, you must always follow the specific rules of the country you are in. If an emergency happens in the sky, a pilot can break the rules to save the airplane. However, you must explain why you broke the rule to the authorities as soon as you land safely. The pilot in command is always the final boss, and they make the main decisions during the flight. You need to know the difference between a standard rule and a recommended practice in aviation law. A standard rule is something you must do, because it keeps everyone completely safe in the sky. A recommended practice is a very good idea, but you do not strictly have to follow it always. EASA makes sure that getting a pilot license feels the same in every single country in Europe. Before you can fly an airplane alone, you need to understand how the airspace is divided up. Airspace is like an invisible road in the sky, and it has different classes for different planes. Some parts of the sky are completely controlled, while other parts are totally uncontrolled and completely free. When you are in controlled airspace, you must talk to the air traffic control on your radio. In uncontrolled airspace, you still have to follow basic rules, but you make your own safe choices. We will talk more about the classes of airspace in the next few parts of this course. For now, just remember that the Chicago Convention is the grandfather of all the flying laws today. Every plane has a special registration mark, which acts like a car license plate for the sky. This registration mark shows which country the plane belongs to, and who is responsible for its safety. You must carry the registration certificate inside the plane every single time you go up for a flight. You also need to carry a certificate of airworthiness, which proves the plane is safe to fly. If the plane does not have these papers, you are not allowed to start the engine at all. Another big part of the law is your license, which you must always carry when you fly. Along with your flying license, you need a valid medical certificate to prove you are completely healthy. If you feel sick or take strong medicine, your medical certificate might become invalid for a short time. You must never fly a plane if you feel unwell or if you have been drinking any alcohol. The rules say you must wait many hours after drinking alcohol before you can fly a plane again. It is always a good idea to wait a full day to be completely safe and totally legal. The police or aviation authorities can check your papers at the airport before or after you fly. If you do not have the right papers, they can take away your license or give a fine. Every time you fly across a border to another country, you must follow the customs and immigration rules. Some airports have police and customs officers, while smaller airports might not have anyone waiting for you. You have to check the flight information manuals to see if an airport allows international flights to land. These manuals are called the Aeronautical Information Publication, and they have all the details for every single airport. Point 1. What is the name of the agreement that created the global rules for flying in the sky? It is called the Chicago Convention, and it was signed a very long time ago by many countries. This agreement is the foundation of all flying laws, and it created the group we call ICAO today. Point 2. What does the group called ICAO do to help planes fly safely all around the global world? They create standard rules and recommended practices, which countries use to make their own local flying laws. ICAO does not make direct laws, but they provide a strong guide for every country to safely follow. Point 3. Which group is responsible for making sure that all European countries have the exact same aviation safety rules? The European Union Aviation Safety Agency, which is usually just called EASA by most of the pilots. EASA takes the global ICAO rules and turns them into strict laws for pilots flying inside of Europe. Point 4. If you have an emergency during a flight, are you allowed to break the standard rules of the air? Yes, you can break the rules, but only if it is completely necessary to keep the airplane safe. You must tell the authorities about the emergency and explain exactly why you broke the law after landing. Point 5. Who is the person that makes the final decisions about the safety of the airplane during a flight? The pilot in command is always the final boss, and they have the ultimate authority over the plane. Even if air traffic control gives an instruction, the pilot can refuse if it puts the plane in danger. Point 6. What is the main difference between a standard rule and a recommended practice in the aviation law book? You absolutely must follow a standard rule, while a recommended practice is just a highly suggested good idea. Standard rules keep the sky uniform and safe, so ignoring them can cause a very serious and bad accident. Point 7. Where do you need to keep the airplane registration certificate when you are going up for a flight? You must carry the original certificate inside the airplane for every single flight that you decide to take. The authorities can ask to see this paper to prove the plane is registered to a real country. Point 8. What document proves to the authorities that your specific airplane is mechanically safe to fly in the sky? It is called the Certificate of Airworthiness, and it shows the plane has been tested and properly fixed. Mechanics must check the airplane regularly to ensure this certificate stays valid for your upcoming safe flight. Point 9. What happens if you feel very sick on the day you have planned to fly a small airplane? You must cancel your flight immediately, because your medical certificate becomes temporarily invalid when you are feeling sick. Flying a plane requires your full attention, so being sick makes it very dangerous for you and others. Point 10. How long should you normally wait to fly an airplane after you have consumed an alcoholic drink? The law requires waiting many hours, but it is always best to wait a full day to fly safely. Alcohol slows down your brain and reactions, which can easily cause a terrible crash when you are flying. Point 11. When you fly into controlled airspace, what is the most important thing you must do on your radio? You must contact the air traffic controller and follow all of their instructions to avoid hitting other planes. The controllers use special radar screens to watch you, and they guide everyone safely through the busy sky. Point 12. Who is responsible for making sure that a small private airplane avoids hitting other planes in uncontrolled airspace? The pilot in command is fully responsible, and they must always look out the window to see other planes. Since there is no controller guiding you, you must use your own eyes to stay completely safe and alive. Point 13. Can the local aviation police stop your airplane and check your license when you land at the airport? Yes, they have the legal right to check all your documents and make sure everything is completely valid. They do these random checks to stop bad pilots and ensure everyone follows the European aviation safety rules. Point 14. What big book contains all the important details about every single airport and its specific landing rules? It is called the Aeronautical Information Publication, and every country publishes their own version of this big manual. You must check this book before flying, to ensure the runway is long enough for your specific airplane. 15. If you fly across the border to another country, what extra rules do you need to think about? You must follow the local customs rules, and show your passport to the immigration officers when you land. Not all small airports have police officers, so you must carefully plan your trip to a legal border airport. 16. What does the special registration mark on the side of an airplane tell you about that specific plane? The letters show the nationality of the plane, and the exact country that keeps a record of it. Every single plane has a unique set of letters, just like a car has a unique metal license plate. 17. What will happen if you start the airplane engine without having the airworthiness papers inside the cockpit area? You will be breaking the law immediately, and the authorities could take your pilot license far away from you. Flying an airplane without the right paperwork is considered a very serious crime in the aviation legal system. 18. How does the EASA organization make it easier for a pilot to travel and fly across different European borders? They use the same standard rules for everyone, so a pilot license works the same in every European country. This means you do not have to learn new laws every single time you cross a border in Europe. 19. What should you do if an air traffic controller gives you a dangerous instruction that might cause a crash? You must tell the controller you cannot comply, and then take action to fly the airplane safely yourself. You are the final boss of the airplane, so you must refuse bad instructions to protect your own life. Please check the description below to get the full course and learn everything you need. Talk now. Welcome back to the second part, where we talk about the basic rules of the sky. Today we will learn about visual flight rules, which pilots call VFR for short. When you fly under VFR, you must clearly see the ground and the sky ahead. You cannot fly into thick clouds, because you will not see other planes coming towards you. To stay safe, you need to know who has the right of way in the air. If two planes are flying straight towards each other, both must turn to their right side. This simple rule prevents a bad crash, and keeps everyone completely safe in the blue sky. If you are passing a slower plane, you must also pass on their right side carefully. A glider or a balloon always has the right of way over a normal airplane engine. This is because airplanes have powerful engines, and they can easily move out of the way. Balloons cannot steer very well, so you must always give them plenty of space to float. When you are landing your plane, you always have the right of way over flying planes. Now let us talk about how high you are flying, which we measure with an altimeter. An altimeter measures the air pressure to tell you your height above the sea or ground. You must set the altimeter correctly, or it will give you a very dangerous wrong number. We use a special setting called QNH to find our height above the average sea level. When you fly cross-country, you use QNH to avoid hitting tall mountains and big hills. If you want to know your height above the airport runway, you use the QFE setting. When you fly very high up, you change the setting to standard pressure for everyone else. This high setting is called QNE, and it helps all planes measure height exactly the same. Before you start any flight, you must gather all the important weather information for your trip. You need to know if the wind is strong, or if big storms are coming soon. You must also check how much fuel you need to safely reach your planned airport destination. Always carry extra reserve fuel, just in case you get lost or the weather turns bad. You are not allowed to drop anything out of your plane while you are flying high. Dropping heavy objects is very dangerous, and it can easily hurt innocent people on the ground. If you need to tow a banner or a glider, you must get special permission first. You also cannot fly too close to other airplanes, unless you plan a safe formation flight. Formation flying requires a lot of practice, and all the pilots must talk to each other. If you fly over a big city, you must stay very high above the tallest buildings. The rules say you must fly at least 1,000 feet above the highest city building. This gives you enough time to land safely if your engine suddenly stops working up there. When you fly over empty country areas, you can fly a little bit closer to the ground. However, you must stay at least 500 feet away from any person or moving car. You must never fly in a dangerous way that scares people or animals on the ground. Flying safely is your main job, and you must respect the people living down below you. At night time, flying becomes harder because you cannot see the ground or clouds very well. You must turn on special lights so other pilots can see your airplane in the dark. You have a red light on your left wing and a green light on your right. You also have a bright white light on the tail, so planes behind can easily see you. These colorful lights help other pilots understand which way your airplane is moving in the sky. If you see a red and green light together, a plane is flying straight towards you. You must quickly turn to the right side to avoid a terrible crash in the night. Always keep your eyes open and look around outside the window to stay completely safe today. Point 1. What do the letters VFR mean when we talk about the basic rules of flying planes? They stand for Visual Flight Rules, which means you must clearly see the ground and sky. Pilots use these rules to fly in good weather, making sure they avoid hitting other planes. Point 2. What must two airplanes do if they are flying directly towards each other in the sky? Both of the pilots must turn their airplanes to the right side to avoid a crash. This simple rule creates a safe passing zone, and it keeps everyone alive in the air. Point 3. If you want to pass a slower airplane, which side should you carefully fly past them? You must always pass the slower airplane on their right side, keeping a very safe distance. The slower plane might not see you, so passing on the right keeps the pattern predictable. Point 4. Does an airplane or a hot air balloon have the right of way in the sky? The hot air balloon always has the right of way because it cannot easily change direction. Airplanes have strong engines to easily move, while balloons only float with the slow-moving wind. Point 5. If you are landing your airplane, do you have the right of way over flying planes? Yes, the landing plane always has the priority, and flying planes must stay out of the way. Landing is a very critical phase of flight, so the pilot needs a completely clear path. Point 6. What instrument do we use in the airplane to measure our height above the ground today? We use a special tool called an altimeter, which measures the outside air pressure for us. As you fly higher into the sky, the air pressure drops, and the dial moves around. Point 7. What altimeter setting tells you your exact height above the average level of the ocean sea? We use the QNH setting on the altimeter to find our height above the sea level. This setting is very useful for cross-country flights, helping you fly over tall mountains safely. Point 8. Which altimeter setting tells you your current height above the specific runway at the local airport? You must use the QFE setting to know your exact height above the airport runway surface. When you land using this setting, your altimeter will read 0 when the wheels touch down. Point 9. What should you always check carefully before you start any long flight to a new city? You must check the weather forecast and make sure you have enough fuel for the trip. Bad weather can cause terrible accidents, and running out of fuel will break the airplane engine. Point 10. Are you allowed to drop an empty water bottle out of the airplane while flying high? No, you must never drop anything out of the plane, because it can hurt someone below. Falling objects gain a lot of speed, and they can cause serious damage to innocent people. Point 11. How high must you fly your airplane when you are flying above a large crowded city? You must stay at least 1,000 feet above the highest building to remain completely safe. This extra height gives you enough time to glide and find a safe landing spot nearby. Point 12. How far away must you stay from people or cars when flying over empty country fields? You must stay at least 500 feet away from any person or moving vehicle below. This rule prevents you from scaring people, and keeps everyone safe on the quiet country ground. Point 13. Can you fly very close to another airplane, just for fun while flying in the empty sky? No, you must not fly close to other planes, unless you have planned a formation flight. Flying too close can easily cause a mid-air crash, which is always fatal for both pilots. Point 14. What color light is located on the left wing of every normal airplane in the wide world? You will always find a bright red light on the left wing of the flying airplane. These lights help other pilots in the dark night to easily know which way you are flying. Point 15. What color light is located on the right wing of the airplane for safe night flying? There is a bright green light on the right wing to clearly show your direction at night. When another pilot sees the green light, they know you are moving across their path safely. Point 16. Where is the bright white light located on the outside of a small private airplane today? The bright white light is located on the tail, at the very back of the fast airplane. This shows other pilots flying behind you that they are safely following your exact same path. Point 17. If you see a red and green light together in the night sky, what is exactly happening? This means another airplane is flying straight towards you, and you must act very quickly now. You should immediately turn your airplane to the right, to completely avoid hitting them in the dark. Point 18. What happens to your altimeter if you forget to set it to the correct local air pressure? It will show you a wrong and dangerous height, which might easily cause you to crash today. You must always update the pressure setting on the dial, as you safely fly to new areas. Point 19. Why do we always carry extra reserve fuel when we plan a long flight across the country? We carry extra fuel in case we get lost, or if the strong wind slows us down. Running out of gas is a huge emergency, so the extra fuel is a very safe backup. Please check the description below to get the full course and learn everything you need. Talk now. Welcome back to the third part, where we explore the invisible roads in the sky. Today we will talk about airspace, and how we talk to air traffic control safely. The sky is divided into different classes, using letters from A to G for organization. Class A is the highest airspace, and small private planes are usually not allowed inside. Only big fast jet airplanes can fly in Class A airspace with strict instrument rules. Most small private airplanes usually fly in the lower airspace known as Class G today. Class G is uncontrolled airspace, which means you do not need permission to fly there. Even though it is uncontrolled, you must still follow the basic visual flight rules always. If you want to fly into controlled airspace, you must ask for permission on the radio. You must talk to the controller before you even cross the invisible line in the sky. When you talk on the aviation radio, you must use a special alphabet to spell words. We call this the phonetic alphabet, and it helps everyone understand each other very clearly. For example, we say Alpha for A, Bravo for B, and Charlie for the letter C. This stops confusion on the radio, especially when there is annoying static noise in the background. When a controller gives you an instruction, you must always repeat it back to them clearly. This readback process proves to them that you heard the correct numbers and safe directions. If you do not understand the controller, you should calmly ask them to say it again. Never guess what the controller said, because making a wrong guess can cause a terrible crash. Before you go on a long trip, you might need to file a formal flight plan. A flight plan is a special paper that tells the authorities where you are going today. It includes your plane registration, your speed, and the exact route you want to safely fly. If you are flying across a country border, you must absolutely file a flight plan first. Filing this plan helps the rescue teams find you quickly if you crash in the mountains. When you land safely at your destination, you must remember to close your active flight plan. If you forget to close it, the rescue helicopters will start searching for you very soon. This wastes us a lot of money, and it takes time away from real emergencies in the area. Now let us talk about special danger zones that you will find on your flying map. Some areas are called restricted zones, and you cannot fly there without special written military permission. These zones might have army soldiers, shooting big guns or testing secret fast airplanes up high. If you fly into a restricted zone, fighter jets might force your airplane to land immediately. Other places are called prohibited zones, and you are never allowed to fly over them ever. These are usually very important places, like the house of a president or a big palace. You must study your paper map carefully to avoid these bad areas during your fun flight. If you have a radio emergency, you should tune to the special frequency number 1215. This ICE International Emergency Channel, and people are always listening to help you out quickly. You also have a machine called a transponder, which sends a signal to the radar screens. If your engine stops working completely, you must put the code 7700 in there. This special number flashes on the radar, and it tells everyone you need urgent help now. If you lose your radio connection, you should put the code 7600 in safely. We will cover more emergency rules later, but these numbers are very good to remember today. Point 1. How do we organize the different areas of the sky for completely safe airplane flying? The sky is divided into different classes, using letters from A to G for organization. This letter system helps pilots easily know which specific rules they must follow in each area. Point 2. Are small private airplanes normally allowed to fly up high inside Class A airspace today? No, they are not allowed, because Class A is mostly for big fast commercial jet airplanes. You need special instrument training and fast planes to safely fly inside this very busy airspace. Point 3. Which class of airspace is completely uncontrolled, meaning you do not need permission to enter? Class G is uncontrolled airspace, where most small private pilots fly their planes for simple fun. Even though you do not need radio permission, you must still follow the basic visual rules. Point 4. What must you do before flying your airplane into a controlled piece of the busy sky? You must contact the air traffic controller and ask for clear permission to enter the area. The controller needs to make sure there is enough safe space for your small airplane today. 5. Why do pilots and controllers always use a special phonetic alphabet on the aviation radio? It stops confusion on the radio, especially when there is bad static noise in the background. Saying alpha instead of a makes the letter very clear, preventing dangerous mistakes in the sky. Point 6. What should you absolutely do after an air traffic controller gives you a new flight instruction? You must always repeat the instruction back to them to prove you heard the correct details. This read-back process catches simple mistakes and keeps everyone flying safely on the correct path. Point 7. What is the safest action to take if you do not understand the controller on the radio? You should calmly ask them to say it again until you understand the directions very clearly. Guessing an instruction is extremely dangerous, and it can cause a terrible crash with another airplane. Point 8. What is a flight plan, and why do pilots use it for long-distance trips? A flight plan is a paper that tells the authorities where you are going to fly. It includes your route and fuel, which helps search teams find you if you ever crash. Point 9. When is it absolutely required by the law to file a formal written flight plan? You must absolutely file a flight plan every time you fly across a country border line. This lets the different countries know who you are and why you are crossing their borders. Point 10. What very important thing must you do after you land safely at your planned destination airport? You must remember to call the authorities and close your active flight plan on the phone. If you forget to close it, they will think you crashed and start a big search. Point 11. Are you legally allowed to fly your airplane straight into a red restricted danger zone? No, you cannot fly into a restricted zone without getting special military permission on the radio. These zones are very dangerous because the army might be shooting big guns up in the air. Point 12. What might happen to you today if you fly into a restricted zone without any permission? Fast military fighter jets might quickly intercept you and force your small airplane to land immediately. You will also lose your pilot license, and you might have to pay a very large fine. Point 13. Can you ever fly your small airplane over a completely red prohibited zone on the map? No, you are never allowed to fly over a prohibited zone under any normal flight circumstances. These places protect very important buildings, like the house of a president or a big government office. Point 14. What special radio frequency number should you use if you have a terrible flight emergency? You should tune your radio to 1215, which is the international emergency channel for everyone. Rescue teams always listen to this special channel, so they can quickly send help to your location. Point 15. What is the machine inside the airplane that sends a digital signal to the radar screens? It is called a transponder, and it helps the controllers easily see your plane on radar. You type a 4-digit code into this machine, which gives the controller your exact safe location. 16. What special transponder code should you enter if your airplane engine suddenly stops working up high? You must type the code 7700 to tell everyone you have a terrible emergency. This number flashes red on the radar screen, and all the controllers will quickly help you land. Point 17. What special transponder code tells the controller that your airplane radio is completely broken today? You should type the code 7600 if you lose your radio connection in the sky. This tells the controller you can still fly, but you cannot hear their voice instructions anymore. Point 18. Why is it very important to study your paper map before you start the airplane engine? You must find the danger zones on the map to avoid flying into bad restricted areas safely. Planning your route on the ground is easy, but getting lost in the sky is extremely scary. Point 19. Can a small private pilot fly in Class G airspace without a working aviation radio today? Yes, you can fly in Class G without a radio because it is completely uncontrolled open airspace. You must use your own eyes to look around and avoid hitting other small planes up there. Please check the description below to get the full course and learn everything you need. Talk now. Welcome back to the fourth part, where we learn about safe airports and busy runways. Do you want to pass your flying test and get your license on the first try? These questions come with full explanations, which will help you get your certification very quickly. Please leave suggestions in the comment section below to help me improve this video course. Today we will explore the airport ground rules so you can move your airplane safely. When you fly close to a busy airport, you must join a standard traffic pattern. A traffic pattern is a rectangular invisible box, which planes follow to land very safely. You must always fly this pattern on the left side, unless the map says otherwise. The runway is the main road for airplanes, and it has big white painted numbers. These large numbers show the magnetic direction, which the flat runway points towards the north. For example, runway 27 points exactly to the west side of the magnetic compass. You should always try to take off and land while facing directly into the wind. Flying directly into the strong wind makes your airplane lift off the ground much faster. To find the wind direction at an airport, you must look at the orange windsock. A windsock is a big cloth tube on a pole, catching the breeze blowing around. The open mouth of the windsock faces the wind, showing you the exact moving direction. Besides the runway, airports have smaller roads called taxiways for airplanes to drive around slowly. Taxiways have yellow lines painted on the ground, and yellow letters to give them names. You must use the radio to ask the controller before you drive on any taxiway. Driving a plane on the ground is called taxiing, and you must do it slowly. At night time, airports turn on many bright lights to help you find the runway. The edges of the main runway always have bright white lights shining in the dark. The edges of the taxiway roads always have soft blue lights to guide your wheels. At the very beginning of the runway surface, you will see a row of green lights. At the far end of the long runway, you will see a row of red lights. These colored lights help you know exactly where the safe landing strip starts and ends. Some airports also have a bright flashing beacon, located on top of a tall tower. A civilian airport beacon flashes alternating white and green colors, shining through the dark night. If you see two white flashes and a green flash, it is a military airport. You must never land at a military airport, unless you have a completely terrible emergency. We will talk about more airport signs soon, but remember these basic colors for now. When approaching a busy airport, you must look out for the visual signal square area. This is a special dark square on the ground, containing big symbols for the pilots. A big white cross inside the signal square means the airport is completely closed today. A red square with a yellow cross means landing is forbidden for all the planes. You must always obey these ground signals, even if you do not have a radio. Learning all these colorful airport signs and lights makes you a much better pilot today. Now let us practice what we just learned, with some very helpful and easy questions. Point 1. What is the standard invisible rectangular box that planes fly to land safely today? It is called a traffic pattern, and planes fly it to wait for their turn. The traffic pattern keeps all airplanes organized in the sky, preventing a mid-air crash today. Point 2. Which direction should you normally turn your airplane when flying in a standard traffic pattern? You must always make left turns in the pattern, unless the airport map says otherwise. Making all the turns to the left side gives the pilot a better downward view. Point 3. What do the large white painted numbers at the beginning of a runway actually mean? They show the magnetic compass direction, which the long flat runway is pointing towards now. A runway number of 09 means it points exactly towards the magnetic east side. Point 4. Should you try to take off and land your airplane with the wind pushing behind you? No, you must always try to take off and land directly facing into the wind. Flying into the wind creates more air over the wings, providing a much safer lift. Point 5. What colorful tool at the airport helps you easily see the current wind direction today? You must look for the bright orange windsock blowing on top of the tall pole. The open wide mouth of the windsock always points towards the coming strong wind direction. Point 6. What do we call the smaller roads that airplanes use to drive around the airport? These smaller moving roads are called taxiways, and you drive on them very slowly today. Taxiways safely connect the parking areas to the main active runway for taking off later. Point 7. What color are the painted lines on the ground, which mark the safe taxiway paths? The lines on a taxiway surface are always painted with a bright yellow color today. Following the solid yellow line carefully keeps your airplane wheels safely away from the grass. Point 8. What is the correct word used when an airplane drives around slowly on the ground? It is called taxiing, and you steer the plane using your feet on the pedals. You must taxi the airplane very slowly to avoid hitting other parked planes or people. Point 9. What color are the lights on the edges of the main landing runway at night? The edges of the main landing runway are lined with very bright white shining lights. These white lights clearly outline the safe landing zone in the very dark night sky. Point 10. What color are the lights along the edges of the taxiways at a dark airport? The edges of the taxiways always use soft blue lights to guide you around safely. The blue color helps you easily tell the difference between a taxiway and a runway. Point 11. What color lights will you see at the very beginning of the safe landing runway? You will always see a row of green lights, marking the start of the runway. Green lights mean it is safe to land, and the strong runway surface begins there. Point 12. What color lights will you see at the very far end of the long runway? You will see a line of red lights, marking the dangerous end of the runway. These red lights warn you quickly that you are completely out of safe runway space. Point 13. What color flashes does a normal civilian airport beacon make in the dark night sky? A civilian airport beacon flashes alternating bright white and green colors, shining through the dark. This tall spinning light helps you find the local airport from many miles away safely. Point 14. If you see two white flashes and a green flash, what type of airport is it? This specific flashing pattern means you are looking at a completely restricted military airport base. You should never land at a military airport base unless you have a terrible emergency. Point 15. What is the special area on the ground, showing big visual symbols to flying pilots? It is called the signal square, and it provides important ground information to the pilots. The signal square is very helpful today if your airplane radio suddenly stops working completely. Point 16. What does a big white cross inside the signal square mean to a flying pilot? A large white cross clearly means that the whole airport is completely closed for landing. You must fly away and find another safe airport, because the runway is not safe. Point 17. What does a red square with a yellow cross mean, if you see it below? This symbol clearly means that landing your airplane is currently forbidden at this specific airport. The runway might be broken or under construction, making it very dangerous for small planes. 18. Are you allowed to drive on a taxiway without asking the controller on the radio? No, you must always ask the controller for permission before moving on any active taxiway. The controller needs to make absolutely sure the path is clear of other driving planes. Point 19. Why does the pilot sit on the left side of a small private training airplane? Sitting in the left side gives the pilot a better view of the left turns. Since the traffic pattern uses left turns, sitting there makes looking outside much easier today. Please check the link in the description below to get the full course and learn more. Welcome back to the fifth part, where we learn more important flying rules today. Do you want to pass your flying test and get your pilot license quickly? These questions come with full explanations, which will help you get your certification fast. Please leave suggestions in the comment section so me and my team can improve. Today we will talk about the weather and what makes a safe flying day. When you fly under visual flight rules, you must follow the basic weather minimums. These minimums tell you how far away you must stay from the big clouds. You also need a certain amount of visibility to see other airplanes around you. if the weather is very bad today, you must leave your airplane safely parked. Flying into a thick gray cloud is extremely dangerous for a new private pilot. Inside a thick cloud, you will easily lose your sense of direction and crash. If military jets ever intercept your airplane, you must follow their special visual signs. They will fly to your left side and rock their wings to say hello. You must rock your wings back immediately to show them you understand the situation. The military pilot will then slowly turn, and you must follow them very carefully. They might lead you to a different airport, where you must safely land immediately. You must never try to fly away, because they are much faster than you. If you see a red flare shooting up, it means you must not land. Red signals always mean danger in aviation, so you must pay close attention always. Let us also talk about search and rescue, which helps pilots in bad trouble. If your airplane crashes in the wild mountains, the rescue teams will start searching. This is why filing a correct flight plan is a very smart safety habit. The rescue team will look at your plan to find your exact flying route. If you survive a bad airplane crash, you must stay near the broken airplane. Do not walk away into the forest, because the airplane is easier to see. You can use mirrors or bright orange clothes to signal the helicopters above you. A special emergency beacon in your airplane will send a loud signal to satellites. This small machine is called an ELT, and it activates when you crash hard. The satellites send your exact location straight to the local search and rescue team. Every pilot must understand these safety rules to protect themselves and their friendly passengers. We want you to be a safe pilot, so remember to study these details. Sometimes you might see a green flash from the control tower on the ground. A steady green light from the tower means you are completely cleared to land. If they shine a steady red light, you must continue circling the airport safely. A flashing red light clearly tells you that the busy airport is completely unsafe. If you are driving on the taxiway, a steady red light means stop immediately. A flashing green light on the ground means you are safely cleared to taxi. You must always watch the control tower if your radio stops working up there. We call these colorful light gun signals, and every pilot must memorize them perfectly. Learning all these colorful light signals will keep you out of trouble very easily. Always keep a small paper cheat sheet on your leg pad for quick help. Now let us practice these emergency rules with some very easy and helpful questions. Point 1. What must you completely avoid flying into when using standard visual flight rules today? You must never fly into a thick cloud, because you cannot see other airplanes. Staying away from big clouds keeps you safe, and prevents a terrible mid-air collision. Point 2. What should you absolutely do today, if the weather looks very bad outside now? You must cancel your planned flight immediately, and leave your airplane safely parked outside. Flying a small airplane in bad weather is the easiest way to crash today. Point 3. What will a fast military airplane do to get your attention in the sky? The military jet will fly to your left and clearly rock its wings once. This is a standard visual interception signal, which tells you to follow them immediately. Point 4. How should you answer the military pilot after they rock their wings at you? You must quickly rock your own wings back, to show you completely understand them. This lets the fast fighter pilot know that you are going to obey them. Point 5. What does a bright red flare mean if it shoots up from the ground? A bright red flare shooting in the sky clearly means you must not land. The runway might have a hidden danger, so you must fly away very safely. Point 6. Why is filing a standard flight plan a very smart idea for every pilot? The rescue teams will use your flight plan to easily find you after crashing. The paper shows your exact planned route, narrowing down the big mountain search area. Point 7. What should you absolutely do right away if you survive a terrible airplane crash? You must always stay near the broken airplane and never walk into the forest. A big broken airplane is much easier to see than a small walking person. 8. What is the name of the emergency machine that activates during a hard crash? It is called an emergency locator transmitter, and we usually just call it ELT. This smart machine sends a loud radio signal straight to the rescue space satellites. Point 9. What does a steady green light shining from the control tower actually mean today? A steady green light from the tower means you are completely cleared to land. You must only land the airplane safely when you see this very specific light. Point 10. What does a steady red light mean if you are flying near the airport? You must give way to other airplanes and continue circling the airport very safely. The controller wants you to wait patiently until the busy runway is completely clear. Point 11. What does a flashing red light mean to a pilot flying in the sky? This clearly means the whole airport is unsafe, so do not land your airplane. You must fly away from the airport and find another safe place to land. Point 12. If you are driving on the taxiway, what does a steady red light mean? A steady red light from the tower clearly means you must stop driving immediately. Another airplane might be crossing your path, so stopping prevents a very bad crash. Point 13. What does a flashing green light mean when you are driving on the ground? This special light from the tall tower means you are safely cleared to taxi. You can continue driving your airplane slowly towards the main active runway for takeoff. Point 14. Why do air traffic controllers use these bright, colorful light gun signals for pilots? They use these special light signals when a pilot loses their radio connection completely. The bright lights give you clear instructions without needing to speak on the radio. Point 15. How can you easily signal a helicopter after crashing in a very empty field? You can use a small shiny mirror or wave a bright orange emergency jacket. Helicopters look for bright colors and flashes to easily find lost pilots down below. Point 16. What happens if you try to fly away from a fast military jet today? You will get into very serious trouble because they are much faster than you. You must always obey a military airplane to avoid being shot down by them. Point 17. What will the military jet pilot do after they rock their airplane wings once? They will slowly turn to the left side, and you must follow them carefully. They are letting you to a safe airport, where the local police are waiting. Point 18. Why is flying into a thick cloud very dangerous for a new private pilot? You will easily lose your sense of direction and quickly crash into the ground. Without seeing the horizon clearly outside, your brain gets very confused in the cloud. Point 19. What should you always keep on your leg to help you remember light signals? You should always keep a small paper cheat sheet strapped tightly to your leg. This piece of paper helps you quickly remember what the colorful tower lights mean. Please check the link in the description below to get the full course and learn more. Welcome back to the sixth and final part of our course today. Do you want to pass your flying test and get your pilot license quickly? These questions come with full explanations, which will help you get your certification fast. Please leave suggestions in the comment section so me and my team can improve. Today we will talk about your pilot logbook and keeping your pilot license active. When you finally get your pilot license, you receive a very special small book. This small book is called Pilot Logbook, and it records all your flights. You must write down every single flight inside your personal logbook very accurately today. This book proves to the aviation authorities that you have enough safe flying experience. Getting your pilot license is a big step, but you must keep it active. To carry passengers safely in your small airplane, you must follow the currency rules. You must do 3 takeoffs and 3 landings within the last 90 flying days. If you do not do these practice landings, you must fly completely alone today. This rule makes sure your flying skills are very sharp before you take passengers. If you want to fly passengers at night, you must practice at night specifically. You need 3 takeoffs and landings at night to stay current for night flights. Your medical certificate is also very important for keeping your pilot license completely legal. Younger pilots get a medical certificate that lasts for 5 whole years of flying. Older pilots must visit the flying doctor every single year to stay perfectly safe. If you ever have a small accident, you must report it to the authorities. Even a small scratch on another airplane must be reported very quickly and honestly. Aviation safety relies on pilots being honest about every mistake they make up there. When everyone shares their mistakes openly, we can learn how to avoid them completely. You will never get into bad trouble if you honestly report a simple mistake. However, if you hide a bad accident, the authorities will take your license away. Always carry your flying license and medical paper every time you fly an airplane. You also need a special radio license to legally talk to the air controllers. This radio paper proves you understand how to speak properly on the aviation radio. We have covered many rules in this course to help you become a pilot. Remember that safety is your main job every time you start the airplane engine. You are the final boss of the airplane, so make very smart decisions always. Never feel pressured to fly an airplane if the weather looks very bad outside. Your friends will always understand safely if you cancel a fun flight for weather. We also need to talk about carrying documents inside the airplane for your trip. Every airplane has a specific flight manual, which acts like a car owner manual. You must always carry this heavy manual inside the airplane for every single flight. The manual tells you exactly how fast your specific airplane can safely fly today. It also shows you how much heavy weight the small airplane can safely carry. Never put too much heavy luggage in the back of your small training airplane. Too much weight makes the airplane very slow, and it might not lift off. Always do a careful weight and balance check before you start the noisy engine. This check proves mathematically to yourself that the airplane will fly safely and smoothly. Now we are ready for the final questions to help you pass your test. Point 1. What special book do you receive when you finally get your new pilot license? You receive a small pilot logbook to record all of your flying adventures. This logbook is a legal document which proves you have enough safe flying experience. Point 2. Who must you show your pilot logbook to if they ask to see it? You must show it to the aviation authorities whenever they safely ask you today. They check your book to make sure you are flying enough hours to stay safe. Point 3. How many practice landings must you do to carry passengers in your small airplane? You must do 3 safe takeoffs and landings within the last 90 flying days. This rule keeps your flying skills very sharp before you take your friend's flying. Point 4. What happens if you do not do your 3 landings within 90 long days? You must fly the airplane completely alone, without any friendly passengers inside the cabin. You cannot take passengers again until you practice your 3 landings alone very safely. Point 5. If you want to take friends flying at night, what special practice do you need? You need to do 3 specific takeoffs and landings during the dark night time. Flying at night feels very different, so you need recent practice in the dark. Point 6. How long does a medical certificate usually last for a very young private pilot? A medical certificate for a young pilot usually lasts for 5 whole flying years. Younger bodies stay healthy for much longer, so they do not need yearly doctor visits. Point 7. How often must an older private pilot visit the flying doctor for a checkup? Older pilots must visit the special aviation doctor every single year for a checkup. The doctor makes absolutely sure their heart and eyes are still completely safe today. Point 8. What must you absolutely do if you accidentally scratch another parked airplane today? You must report the small accident honestly to the local airport safety authorities immediately. Sharing your honest mistakes safely helps everyone learn how to stop future bad accidents. Point 9. Will you lose your pilot license permanently for reporting a very simple flying mistake? No, you will never get into trouble for being completely honest about small mistakes. The authorities only want to learn from you and improve safety for everyone flying. Point 10. What will happen to you today if you hide a terrible airplane crashing accident? The angry authorities will definitely find out and take your pilot license far away. Hiding a bad airplane accident is a very serious crime in the aviation world. Point 11. What special paper do you need to legally talk on the airplane radio today? You need to carry a special radio license, along with your normal pilot license. This small paper proves you safely understand how to speak on the aviation frequencies. Point 12. Who is the final boss of the airplane, making all the big safety decisions? The pilot in command is the final boss, making every single choice up there. You are completely responsible for the safe flight and the lives of your passengers. Point 13. Should you ever fly an airplane today if you feel pressured by your friends? No, you must never fly an airplane if you feel unsafe or very pressured. Your friends will always understand safely if you cancel a flight for bad weather. Point 14. What heavy book must you always carry inside the small airplane for every flight? You must always carry the specific airplane flight manual inside the flying cockpit today. This manual acts like an owner book, telling you how to operate the airplane safely. Point 15. What important numbers can you easily find inside the airplane flight manual book today? You can find exactly how fast the airplane can safely fly in the sky. You can also find the maximum heavy weight the airplane can safely carry today. Point 16. Why is it very dangerous to put too much luggage inside your small airplane? Too much heavy luggage makes the airplane slow and very hard to lift off. A heavy airplane will use the whole runway and might crash into the trees. Point 17. What important mathematical check must you do before you start the noisy airplane engine? You must always complete a careful weight and balance check on your paper today. This check proves your airplane is loaded correctly, ensuring a very safe and smooth flight. Point 18. What happens to your flying license if you fly after drinking a cold beer? You are breaking the law completely, and you will lose your flying license immediately. Alcohol makes your brain very slow, which is incredibly dangerous when flying fast airplanes. Point 19. Why do we have so many strict aviation rules for small private pilots today? We have these strict aviation rules to keep everyone completely safe in the sky. Following the law prevents terrible accidents and makes flying fun for every new pilot. Please check the link in the description below to get the full course and learn everything you need to know.